I'm going to say something that you will assume is a joke. I'm going to say something that you will not believe. And yet, I would wager Jackson's career on the honesty of this report. If there's any part of this story that is even mildly incorrect, I would bet Jackson's job on. That's how confident I am in this story.
Not really putting a lot on the line there, though.
That's true. Washington Democrats and a Republican are pushing a bill that might ban anesthesia or the gases used during anesthesia because of climate change. Now, when I first saw this bill, Senate Bill 5236, I told Jackson, could you please look this over and tell me if I'm misreading? Because it sure sounds insane. And then you looked it over, and what did you come to the conclusion of?
It's insane.
It's insane. It's insane. It orders the Department of Ecology to commission a study of anesthetic gases, which include a bunch of gases I can't pronounce, plus nitrous oxide. And they're doing this because they are recognized as potent greenhouse gases that will contribute to climate change in some way. And so the study is supposed to determine whether or not the gases are used in Washington, or really to what extent are they used in Washington during medical surgeries, dental surgeries, veterinary practices use this as well. They want to know about how much of these gases are used, give us an estimate of the emissions from their use from anesthesia, and then recommend ways to either reduce or completely eliminate emissions from these gases. It says, and this is from the law, it says the Department of Ecology, quote, must submit recommendations to the appropriate committees of the legislature regarding any further statutory changes needed in order to appropriately and effectively reduce greenhouse gas emissions associated with the use of anesthetic gases, including any recommendations to prohibit the manufacture, distribution, sale, or use of specific anesthetic gases. That's in the law.
Get ready to bite down on this rag.
No, it's a leather strap or like a wooden spoon, the handle part. Sir, we're about to pull a bullet out of your sternum. Here's a shot of moonshine. Let's get them liquored up.
Were they using the Civil War like ether or something?
Yes, it's unbelievable. And I don't think you can use ether because of the gas emissions. I don't think that would count. Now, I know you know, but perhaps the lawmakers here don't seem to realize that neither Washington State nor this country has a climate change problem associated with anesthesia in any way, shape, or form. Like not even a little minuscule amount. And yet, the legislation said it's, quote, prudent not to overlook meaningful opportunities to reduce emissions of other types of greenhouse gases from more niche sources such as anesthetic gases. So I did some research into this because her office, which the lawmaker behind this specifically is Senator Vandana Slatter from Bellevue. And I'll get into her in a little bit, but I reached out because as someone who is an actual environmentalist, one who's just not an insane person, I had never heard of this before. And so I reached out to my friend, the president of the American Conservative Coalition, which is a group that I am an advisor for, an environmental conservative group. And so he's been on the show, Chris Barnard. So I sent him a text. I'm like, have you ever heard of anything associated with anesthetic gases and climate change? Like, is this a thing? You live in this world way more than I do. This is what you do all day, every day. Have you? He's like, I have never heard of this before. And so I was told by Slatter's office that a bunch of medical professionals reached out to her and demanded that they look into this, which I sincerely doubt is true.
I don't believe that for a second.
Well, I'll know in a month because I put in a public disclosure request for all the commentary that they were. I don't believe that for a second. But then I Googled it, and I found a study by the American Society of Anesthesiologists, and they found that anesthetic gases are only estimated to contribute between 0.01% and 0.1% of total global greenhouse gas emissions. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. In fact, you could ban all anesthetic gases, and it will have not even a marginal impact on climate change. It wouldn't even have a negligible one. You wouldn't be able to measure any kind of impact on the climate. None. It would have been as if someone with the Man in Black little pen, like,
yeah, the little
flashed it
memory
in your
eraser
face,
thing,
and you lost all memory of anesthesia, like you never even knew it existed. That's essentially what would have happened from a climate change perspective. You would be like, we never had it to begin with. Didn't matter because nothing changed. Nothing changed. But we're going to potentially, by 2026, get rid of anesthetic gases. It's hard to say. Don't give me that look. You try saying it. Try spelling it as many times as I did at KTTH.com. Wasn't easy. A lot of spell check going on there.
there's like an H in there, and
It's real. And I would have assumed it's A-N-A, but it's A-N-E. And I kept saying A-N-A. So I looked into this Vandana Slatter lawmaker because I'm trying to figure out whether or not she's trying to position herself as some sort of climate change crusader who's eager to virtue signal her commitment to saving the planet by pushing a bill that, well, risks depriving all of us of the ability to endure truly painful surgeries, because that doesn't really scream sound policy to me. Doesn't seem like that's going to be very popular. We're going to take out those wisdom teeth, but you're going to feel every pull, every tug as the root is ripped from the gum bed. Oh, it's impacted? Oh, well, you can blame State Representative Slatter for impacting your ability to be knocked out during this procedure.
so a bunch of people walking around in complete agony.
Well, you know what? If I have to walk around in complete agony, why shouldn't they? So I reached out. She wouldn't do an interview. I'm not shocked by that. I looked at her background. Apparently, she's a licensed pharmacist. But what jumped out to me was she's got 20 years of experience as a clinical scientist at pharmaceutical companies like Amgen and Pfizer, or what is it, Pharmacia/Pfizer. And then I started thinking to myself, does she have some insider knowledge about some sort of replacement for anesthesia that could easily be adopted and make a lot of people richer? Not even rich, richer. Does she know about something coming down the line? Are we, because we wouldn't have access to any of this information. Does she have a conflict of interest behind this potential legislation if it gets passed? I would like to ask her that question, but she, of course, is not going to answer it. But then I looked at the co-sponsors, because when you don't have any co-sponsors, the chances of this getting picked up are dramatically lowered. It's still possible, but it's unlikely. Well, she had three co-sponsors, 4 sponsors total. 2 of them are folks we've talked about on the show before, Twina Nobles and Sharon Shoemake. They're a little nutty. But then there was this guy named Harris listed. And I was like, who's Harris? I don't remember Senator Harris. I know a state representative Harris, Paul Harris of Vancouver, Republican. And I forgot that he was running for the Senate position, which he won. And Harris's name is there. Why is a Republican co-sponsoring this? I thought to myself, and oftentimes when I see kind of, at least what to me seem like kooky bills, if there's a Republican attached, I say, maybe I'm missing something, right? Like maybe there is some legitimate purpose here that I'm just not seeing, that maybe I have a bias that is blinding me to something. And so I reached out to his office to get a curt response saying he's not available for an interview, to which I then responded, okay, could you just tell me a little more information on like what the impetus was behind this? I'd appreciate it if you can get back to me by 2:30, I said to his comms guy. Well, 2:30 came and went, didn't get anything. I sent another email like, hey, could you, it's Jason Rantz, that guy who's uber supportive of the Republicans here and do what I can to push back on liberal madness and offer a whole lot of my airtime to you guys so you can talk about important issues that you're not going to get any kind of attention from any of the TV networks or the newspapers. That's me. Kind of feels like I don't want to say I'm owed, but I feel like I'm someone who earned a response. Didn't get a response. Until today, they finally all apologized after I sent a snarky email basically saying what I just said. They were very busy. They couldn't respond and just say, I'm real busy, I'm going to see what I can do. That was too much. Because you've been busy before, so busy that you couldn't have taken 3 seconds out of your day to respond to an email from someone who's kind of important.
Well, I know better than to ignore you. I don't.
If you ever ignored me, you'd be done.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know who's done having any requests to book their people? You know who's done? That guy. So I don't know why they're doing this. I'm genuinely curious why a Republican would get on board, because it certainly seems to me that this Republican is kind of selling out the constituents who expect that when they put a conservative or someone who says they're a conservative in Olympia, given the fact that we've got so little power, you're not going to enable any of this craziness. And if it's not, in fact, craziness that you're enabling and you see something a different way, that you actually talk to the conservatives who put you in that position. But Paul Harris seems disinterested at this point, or he's very busy. He's very busy. So we don't know why. But something like this passes if you don't make a big deal about it. Understand, something like this will pass very quickly and very easily if you don't actually make a big deal about it. And you think any newspaper or local television station is going to pick this one up? I don't even know why I clicked on this bill, because it sounds very boring on the surface. It's not like they say in the title that, a potential ban on anesthesia. Ouch.
It almost sounds too kooky to believe, too. Like, they would never do that.
It really does. That's just not how they label these things. They label them in a very generic way. This is what it is. Concerning emissions of greenhouse gases used for anesthetic purposes. Now, that doesn't really say that they're going to ban anything. So I can see how someone would look at that and go like this. You go see Washington Center for Sleep, wonderful sponsor, and they'll fix that snoring. But you probably just fall asleep. So I would love it if you guys could go to KTTH.com, click on this story, read it, read the bill. Maybe some of you are like, you're joshing me. This is fake news. No way that this is. Read the bill. Tell me where I'm wrong. But most importantly, you have to share this story. You have to share the story. Other people have to know, because this is the kind of issue that regardless of how you vote politically, you would look at and say, wait, what? Huh? No, that's ridiculous. How many people out there listening right now have had surgery or maybe had a pet have to have surgery? Imagine D'Artagnan. I got a dog in April of last year. I don't think I told you that.
Have you never told me that?
Yeah, I know. I'm usually pretty open about my personal life. I have a dog named D'Artagnan. The idea of him having to have surgery without any anesthesia, I can't even take him to the vet for like shots that he needs without hopping him up on anti-anxiety meds. Imagine the pain and suffering he'd be going through. Imagine the pain and suffering your kid would go through if he broke his arm or she broke her knee or something, or leg. Like, this is insanity for something that is so incredibly negligible when it comes to the climate. So it's on all of us to bring attention to this and bring attention to our friend State Senator Harris from Vancouver, a Republican, to explain why he's backing this. And I'll have an open mind. Maybe he comes out and says, here's the real reason. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't think of that. I was too focused on the fact that I wouldn't want to have surgery without the gases that knock me out so I don't feel any of the pain. And then I went on one of the AI programs and said, is there an alternative to this? And it said, no, you idiot. What are you talking about? It insulted me for asking the question. But maybe, Senator Harris has some ideas that could change my mind on this.